This game was played in 2011. I was white against the great grandmaster from Azerbaijan, Gashimov. And in this game, I want to show how feeling the position is very important. Even if you have a good position, if you don't understand the ideas, it's gonna be bad. And also, I wanted to show in the middle game how you can sometimes relate some ideas to other games you have played. So, this is the main two things that I want to show in this game. Okay, let's start with e4. This was, I was leading this tournament, and he was, I think, 1 point behind in this moment. So he really wanted to play a risky game. He wanted to play for a win, and he managed to do it. He played g6, which is normally a good game when you want to play a risky game. But on the other hand, it's very dangerous because you give away the center. And in general, I'm not a big fan of playing like this with black. So I'm quite happy when I have to face such a move. But it doesn't really mean that you have great results always. But well, okay, d4, bishop g7, knight c3, and he played c6. This was a little trick actually, because in this moment of my life, I used to play a lot this line with d6, bishop g5, and then I was playing these lines with queen d2 and long castle, f4. It's a very aggressive line, and I was feeling really comfortable with it. But here in this game, he played c6, and this little change actually annoyed me a lot, because I cannot play anymore the bishop g5 idea, because now queen b6, it's a problem, and you're basically winning a pawn, although still playable to do something like knight f3, queen b2, and now, I don't know, something like even like bishop d2. There is some compensation, because he lost lots of tempi here to play queen b6, queen b2, and now he needs to come back. But still, it's a little strange to give a pawn so early in the game, and I didn't really want to do it. So bishop g5, it feels also a little bit strange after c6, because it's actually his main idea. On the other hand, I would recommend something like bishop c4, which is an independent line, and then it's quite a good move, and I've played similar afterwards. But in this moment of my life, I wasn't very well prepared in this line. So I decided to play a move that it's very solid. But the problem is I didn't really feel the ideas, the plans very well, and at some point I got worried for nothing basically, but slowly got overplayed. Okay, c6, I played knight f3. Obviously this cannot be a bad move, and now he plays d6. So we can clearly see that his idea was actually just to avoid these lines with bishop g5, because otherwise what's the point to already play c6? He could have started with c6 with d6 and then to play c6 afterwards, but his idea with c6 was to stop the bishop development. And now playing bishop g5, it's not so sensible, because you cannot bring the pawn to f4 and create a lot of pressure in the center. Anyway, I decided to play solid, and in the tournament I was leading, so I thought this line with bishop e2 will be a good idea, because it's very solid, very safe. But on the other hand, it's much easier to play the lines you know, and if you play something you don't know very well, it's very easy that you're gonna think too much and you're gonna get into time trouble, and we know already that this is in the end creating some problems. Yes. So okay, bishop e2, he played knight f6, castle, I played h3, and another typical move is a4 here, even rook e1 is typical, but h3 is perfectly playable. Okay, you control this g4 square, which is not really useful right now, but okay, for the king, safety is okay, and sometimes you can bring your bishop to f4 and even to h2. And b5 right now, I think it's not such a great move, because now e5 is quite strong. So basically, h3 is a very interesting move that it doesn't spoil anything. It's a very natural move. He played knight b7, and here I played bishop f4. This is maybe already an inaccuracy, but as I said, I wasn't so familiar with the position, and so it's hard to actually choose the best move. At least it's good if you don't choose the best move, not to do it too slow. At least to keep some time, because later we will need it. So anyway, bishop f4, it's a normal move. And now if queen c7, I thought even a move like e5 is super solid. And this was the plan of this game, to go something like this and to have a little advantage I was happy with. But this queen a5 came as a total surprise for me, and it's a quite interesting move, because now black is preparing to play e5, and if we play e5 ourselves, then now knight h5 is different, because the pawn on e5 is under attack, and we don't have e takes d6 attacking his queen. His queen is out of the game now. So actually e5 is not so good, and I was thinking for long enough here, and I didn't really find a good idea. I played knight d2, but this isn't really a good move. And there are other moves like a3, or even some strange move like queen b1 to play some b4 sometimes. But this is hard to make if you have never seen it. It's a little bit strange. So, well, I guess another move is bishop e3, but on the other hand, this feels like if you made a mistake on the previous move. So it's also a difficult move to make. I played knight d2, but we will see how quickly we go into trouble here with white. He played queen c7. Now it's a much better idea, because now I don't have e5 anymore. And if I play something like knight c4, he can even start with b5, chasing away my knight, and now I'll have a bad position very soon. So knight c4 is bad, and I didn't really know what to do for a while. So I decided in the end to go a4. But now black's play is very comfortable. He played e5. The problem is, if I take on e5, he takes back. I play bishop e3. This looks safe, but I didn't like my position, because he will play rook d8, and then the knight is coming to f8 to e6, and from e6 to d4, or even to f4, and also sometimes knight h5 and knight f4 can come. And it seemed to me like black is playing really easy here, and I think I was right about it. So that's why I decided to play a little different, but I'm not sure that what I did was actually better than what I just showed. But I played bishop e3 immediately. I didn't want to actually take on e5 so quickly. But this allows a little trick. He played knight g4. I totally expected this move. So it's not something that came unexpectedly, not at all. But, well, I took bishop g4, e d4, and this actually collects back the piece, and, well, I have to take on d4 probably, he takes back, and he got the two bishops now. So actually black is slightly better, but here there is still a full game to be played. Of course, I wasn't feeling very comfortable, but I thought still it shouldn't be so bad. So I kept playing. I went knight c4. He has to go bishop c5 to protect his weakness on d6. Now I played a5. Sometimes I have the idea of playing knight a4 and taking on c5, but basically I'm not in time to do that. So he played knight e5. Okay, my knight is under attack, so I have to probably just to change on e5. d5. I need to be careful now, because he might have an idea to play f5. And as we mentioned in some earlier videos, it's very important to always think, what about my opponent? What is he trying to do? And in this case, f5 might be an interesting idea sometimes. So I changed the bishops right away. There is no other better square for the bishop, and in the end, the best I can find is just to change it. So this was a correct move. Take on c8, he took back on c8. I played queen e2. Well, the queen cannot stand very long on the d file because some rook will come and it'll create some problems. So the queen on e2 also has the idea to come queen c4 sometimes. That's a normal move, natural move. He played now bishop b4, and maybe this is not so precise. Maybe he had to play before something like rook fd8, but of course his advantage is not very big. He has a better bishop than my knight, but on the other hand there is just few pieces left, and it's the tendency is to change a lot of pieces. The rooks can go to the d file, and of course it's a little drawish, but still my pawn on a5 is a little bit weak, and my knight is a little bit worse than his bishop, but it's not so terrible. Yeah. Anyway, he played bishop b4, and this basically forces me to go a6, which isn't so bad actually. I mean, it's a pawn on a6, it's in 6th rank. It's gonna be a little bit weak, but on the other hand, it's not so easy to attack it, so it's not so terrible. And now I decided a little bit strange move. I played knight a2. Well, obviously the knight on c3 cannot stand very long because it cannot go anywhere basically. So I decided to bring it somewhere else. But another interesting idea was just to play knight b1 with the idea of c3 and knight d2 and maybe knight f3 someday. And probably here I chose the wrong plan. I chose the wrong square for the knight, and this actually later reminded me of a game with Etienne Bacrot that I have lost long ago. And well, I was a kid back then, but we will have a quick look at it also because it's very interesting how a little maneuver of your piece sometimes can change everything. Because this knight didn't go to the best square and it changed the game. I had to suffer a lot, and in the end I lost. And with Etienne Bacrot it also happened the same. Let's go a little forward. I played knight a2, and knight b1 was possible. Even knight d1 was also possible, trying to go to e3, and from here we'll see also there is moves like c4, c3, or knight g4 sometimes. It's also an interesting square. Anyway, I played knight a2, he went bishop e7, knight c1. Now my knight can go to either d3 or b3. He played rook fd8, I went knight b3, everything is normal so far. And now, well, I have sometimes the ideas of going knight a5. So he played queen b6, I guess to start to put some pressure on the a6 pawn. And here, well, I played rook fd1, which is kind of natural. There was this move, which is interesting, knight a5, to go with knight to b7. But on the other hand, I wasn't completely sure the knight on b7 is in such a good square. Or even to stay there on a5. It's a little bit strange. It feels a bit strange to me. But it is an interesting move, but it's a little bit risky, obviously, because the knight on b7 can get totally out of play. And you will need always to have a rook on a1 to protect your pawn on a6. So it's a little bit double-edged. I decided to play safer here. I played rook fd1. He played king g7, improving his king a little bit. And now here it was a very important move, and this probably changed the whole game. Here it was very simple and very good move, and we'll compare this with the later maneuver that I have in this game that I mentioned before. This move knight d2 was excellent. This knight will go to f3, and from f3 will attack his pawn on e5, and will provoke him to do something. For example, let's say he plays c5, I go knight f3. And, well, even from here I could even try to go now to f1 and to e3 and d5. This was another idea. But anyway, let's say I go to f3, and this will provoke him to either put his bishop on f6, where it's very passive, or either to move f6, and this king on g7 will be weaker in the end, because this, for example, if I manage to even to give this pawn on a6, but to enter the d file, then the 7th rank is going to be weak. So it will create some problems, and on the other hand, it's also closer to my king, so it can help to protect my king sometimes. And if I'm not going to a5 b7, then it's stupid to keep it on b3. Why to keep it there? So this was a very important move, and I wanted to compare this position for a second with a game with Etienne. We reached basically this position with Etienne Bacrot. I was black. He played rook d7 here. I played rook e7. He took. I took. He played rook b1, and here I lost the game pretty easy. Well, no, in the end it was actually even drawish, but it was so important to play here a bishop maneuver that I don't know if it's an easy one or not, but I feel nowadays it's too important to miss this move. This bishop e8 with the idea of bishop c6, and the bishop will protect the weakness on b7 and the weakness on e4, and will be also protected himself. After this maneuver, black is doing more or less fine. It's almost equal. But I played h5, which is a very bad move. Then bishop f1. And again, this was the last moment to try to bring bishop e8 and with the idea of bishop c6. I played h4, which doesn't really help. And after bishop g2, rook e8, and for example, rook b6, and suddenly I have too many weaknesses and my position is very, very difficult. So this move, bishop e8, this little maneuver reminds me of this game with Gashimov, because it was very important. Okay, let's go quickly to the position that we had before. Here at a2, bishop e7, after king g7, yes. So here, this little maneuver would have changed everything. I think white's position after this is very, very safe, and I shouldn't have much problems to make a draw here at least. Instead of that, I played queen g4, and suddenly my position becomes very difficult. He played c5, which is a beautiful move. Basically now he's trying to play c4, chasing my knight, and the dynamics are very important in chess. And now, okay, my knight is also escaping from b3, but the problem is now the queen on g4 is not helping at all, and this bishop on e7 will become a monster on c5, attacking f2, because I even need to come back now. So I played knight f1, he played bishop c5, I played queen g3. I had to protect f2. And here, well, black is just clearly better already. So, well, it's not so terrible, but it's very unpleasant already. His bishop is just much better than my knight, and my weakness on a6, and everything is just complicated. Let's see how the game finished, because it was a very interesting game. He took on d1 just to collect my pawn, and then I took on e5. He played queen f6. I'm basically forced to change queens because he's attacking also f2 and b2, so I'm forced to change on f6, and this endgame is very unpleasant. He has a better king, he has a better minor piece, and he has a good structure on the queen side, so he can create some pass pawn on the queen side, and it's very difficult to defend. I've played rook d5. Probably it's a mistake, but it's not so easy to play actually with white, of course. Maybe he had to start already with a5, but he played first king e6, which is a logical move as well. He's sometimes also trying to play f5, and my rook on d5 will be in trouble. And that's why I played g4, which is not such a great move. Probably I had to play knight d2 first, and if f5, maybe to sacrifice momentarily a pawn, this was a better option. King f1, fe4, rook g5, and then my knight will come to the center and I'll have some chances actually. So knight d2 was much better. I played g4, which is wrong. He played a6. Probably it was better for him just to start with a5 already and to play a4 as soon as possible, then c3, a3, and create an a pawn, a pass pawn. And with a good king, strong bishop, and a good rook here, I'm almost lost with white there. He played a6, I played knight d2, and he played c3. And this gave me lots of chances actually to save the game, because now it's not so obvious. His pawn is too far, and my position isn't so bad anymore. As you see, even a super GM like a 27 plus, he can still give you chances if you keep fighting. It's not so easy to win games. Actually, it's one of the most complicated things to do. He played c3, I took the pawn, and he played bishop b6. Now he's threatening to take on c3 back, so I'm forced to give the pawn at least to block the c file. He took b takes c4. Now I played a good move, king f1, a5. Well, he wants to run with a pawn, but he could have done this in a much better version if he could have started to run before. Not to play a6, but to play a5. He'll have a very good advantage. But now, it's not so obvious actually. a5, I played rook b5, which is a great move. He played bishop d8, and here, move 38. You can imagine what and why I made a mistake on move 38. Probably I was already down to very few seconds, and it's a tough decision here because king e2 looks so natural. The king is well placed there, but it was even very interesting to play a move like rook b7, trying to defend the advance of the pawn from behind. And if rook a8 comes, then this pawn on c4 is hanging, and black will have some compensation, but probably not enough to win. So this move, king e2, is a little bit wrong. He played a4, and now I played a good move, knight b1. I have to block the pawn somehow, because it's running very fast. He played rook a8. And here, okay, again I had to block the pawn, knight a3. And at least I reached move 40. Bishop e7, I have to play knight c4 and a3. This is basically forced. And here, well, we will see that I managed to lose, but it wasn't actually that easy. It's a difficult position for white, but still maybe possible to make a draw. I played rook b6 check, king d7, it's a forced move. I play also rook b1, it's a forced move. There is no other way to stop a2 a1. So rook b1, played king c6. Well, now the problem is black is coming with a2, bishop b4, bishop c3, and his king can also help in the queen side. So I played c3, which looks interesting. a2, rook a1, king b5. And here I made a mistake actually, and it was a very, very important move. But I've thought long about it, and I wasn't sure where to go with the knight. I went to the wrong place. And probably I just missed bishop c5. His next move is a very strong move. But going to b2 will be enough to make a draw, probably, because there is no way for his king to come over, because every square is basically protected. So, and after, for example, bishop f6, I could go king d3, then my king will come sometimes to c2, or I can have some move like knight b1, trying to protect everything. And this was enough to make a draw, actually. But knight e3, bishop c5, and probably my position is already lost. One mistake. Sometimes it's enough to spoil everything. All the work. It's move 45. I've survived for a long time in this game with a difficult position, but it looks like an easy move to me. But right now, of course, and at home with the computer and everything, it's always very easy. But during the game, it's not so obvious, yeah. And knight b2 looks beautiful, actually, because it's such a beautiful fortress with these three pieces protecting everything, and the king is coming to help. And this looks like a draw, yeah. Knight b2. Anyway, let's see how I lost, because it was fast enough already, so we can see. But after king d3, the problem is now I cannot go away with the knight, because king c4, and he has a place to come with the king and win the game. So after king d3, he takes on e3, and I'm totally lost. So this is a real blunder, actually. This is a terrible blunder. Knight e3 is horrible. Not sure. Yeah, I think I missed this bishop c5. It's the only way that actually black is winning. But it's not so complicated, I would say. Well, king d3, bishop c5, fe3. And here basically everything wins, because you can never escape with the rook. And slowly his king will improve and attack my weak pawns. All the king endgames are gonna be lost for white. So it seems quite easy. He played f6, but it's a good move, but I'm not sure it's even the only winning move. Probably it's not the only one. So I played h4, h5, take h5, take h5, king c2, king c4, king b2, rook b8 check. Well, if king d3, I could try something like this, rook check, king e4, and king a1. At least I'll block the pawn with my king. But it's gonna be lost anyway, because my king will be very far, and I still have lots of weaknesses, and his f-pawn is very strong, so probably this is still lost anyway. But I was still playing because I was disappointed, but it's totally lost, yeah. He gave check, and then now he played rook g8. It's one of the ways to win the game. It's not the only one, of course. Rook g8, rook a2, rook g2. And he changed the rooks and king c3, and basically this is over. He collects all my pawns, and then he'll have two passed pawns. So, well, it's a pity that to lose this game, because I fought a lot. I was very close to save it, and with knight b2 I would have saved it. But on the other hand, the opening, I didn't really feel the position very well. I got a little bit worse, and maybe this feeling that I was leading the tournament, and draw was enough for me. Like it was a good result, because this will grant me to win the tournament most probably. But well, I played passive. I played maybe just for a draw, and in the end, when you play like this, you need to have a very specific style to be able to do that and to actually manage to make a draw. I have an aggressive style in general, and if I play too passive, very often happens this what we saw now. And well, don't remember to check these little piece maneuvers, because this knight d2, knight f3, or during this game with Etienne, bishop e8 and bishop c6 were very important, and were much easier than what I did. What I did was just playing for tricks with Etienne with h5, h4, which makes not much sense. And also here with Vugar, I played queen g4, which was a very bad move. These little maneuvers, improving your pieces, ask your pieces, speak with your pieces. Yeah, this is what I've heard. Speak with little pieces and see what they want to do, where they want to go. Okay, thanks for watching.